जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदना ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदना ब्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन संस्थापक आचार्य सेवियर द होल वर्ल्ड जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayesha Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Today we are going to discuss the last verse of this chapter, text 44. Tatra kirtayato vipra, tatra kirtayato vipra, viprarsher bhuri tejasaha, viprarsher bhuri tejasaha, aham cha adhyagamam tatra, aham cha adhyagamam tatra, nivishtaha tat anugrahat, nivishtasthad anugrahat, saha aham vaha shravayishyami, soham vah shravayishyami, yatha adhitam yatha mati, yatha adhitam yatha mati, tatra kirtayato vipra, viprarsher bhuri tejasaha, aham chadhyagamam tatra, nivishtasthad anugrahat, soham vashravayishyami, yathadhitam yathamati. Tatra kirtayato vipra, viprarsher bhuri tejasaha, aham chadhyagamam tatra, nivishtasthad anugrahat, soham vashravayishyami, yathadhitam yathamati. Tatra kirtayato vipra, viprarsher bhuri tejasaha, aham chadhyagamam tatra, nivishtasthad anugrahat, soham vashravayishyami, yathadhitam yathamati. Tatra kirtayato vipra, viprarsher bhuri tejasaha, aham chadhyagamam tatra, viprarsher anugrahat, soham vashravayishyami, yathadhitam yathamati. Tatra, there, kirtayataha, while reciting, vipraha, O Brahmanas, viprarishe, from the great Brahmana Rishi, bhuri, greatly, tejasaha, powerful, aham, I, cha, also, adhyagamam, could understand, tatra, in that meeting, nivishtaha, being perfectly attentive, tat anugrahat, by his mercy, saha, that very thing, aham, I, vaha, unto you, shravayishyami, shall let you hear, yatha adhitam, yatha mati, as far as my realization. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. O learned Brahmanas, when Shukadeva Goswami recited Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing I learned it from him, and as I have realized it. Please repeat this translation after me. O learned Brahmanas, when Shukadeva Goswami recited Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him, and as I have realized it. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Sri Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized great soul like Shukadeva Goswami. One cannot, however, learn Bhagavatam from a bogus, hired reciter whose aim of life is to earn money, whose aim of life is to earn some money out of such recitation and employ the earning in sex indulgence. No one can learn Srimad Bhagavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. That is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Nor can one learn Bhagavatam from one who interprets the text by his mundane scholarship. One has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative of Shukadeva Goswami and no one else, if one at all wants to see Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam. That is a process and there is no alternative. Suta Goswami is a bona fide representative of Shukadeva Goswami because he wants to present a message which he received from the great learned Brahmanas. Suta Goswami is a bona fide representative of Shukadeva Goswami because he wants to present the message which he received from that great learned Brahmana, from Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami presented Bhagavatam as he heard it from his great father, Vyasadeva. And so also Suta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Shukadeva Goswami. Simple hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. The word nivishta means that Suta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind when he is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But some or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Sri Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, third chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Yat kripatamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So this is the conclusion of this chapter. This chapter is entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. There was a question by the sages, why did Krishna appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva? And they also asked, kindly describe the various incarnations of the Lord. So Krishna is both the original person and also incarnation. Incarnation because avatara means, avatara is translated as incarnation, Krishna avatara. Avatara means one who descends from the spiritual world, comes down from the spiritual world. So Krishna is eternally present in the spiritual world and is carrying on his pastimes, eternally there. So when it is said he comes down to our world, this material world, it doesn't mean he's absent there. He expands and he comes. This incarnation of Krishna is special, as I have explained earlier, that he is the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual world. So he comes down as he is. He doesn't assume a form unlike the others. Narsimha, Varaha, Vamana, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, all of them are assumed forms. So all those forms has original form in the two-handed form, two-handed and four-handed. Some are four-handed. All the forms except Krishna and Balaram are originally four-handed in the spiritual world. But Krishna and Balaram are the original personality of Godhead, who in the spiritual world are two-handed, and they come down in the two-handed form, their original form, same form. So therefore, in this chapter, in the 19th and 20th incarnation, it is particularly mentioned. Which verse is that? 23rd verse. Ekona vimshe vimshati me vrishnishu prapya janmani Rama Krishna viti bhuvo Bhagavan aharat bharam. Particularly for these two incarnations, Suta Goswami says, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada explains in the purport, in the translation it is, this verse means, in the 19th and 20th incarnations, the Lord advented himself as Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni, the Yadu dynasty, and by so doing he removed the burden of the world, Bhagavan. So Prabhupada says in this purport, I think, the specific mention of the word Bhagavan in this verse indicates that Balaram and Krishna are original forms of the Lord. Lord Krishna is not an incarnation of the Purusha, as we learn from the beginning of this chapter. He is directly the original personality of Godhead, and Balaram is the first plenary manifestation of the Lord. From Balaram, so many expansions, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and so on. So now Suta Goswami is concluding this chapter by telling that when Shukadeva Goswami recited Bhagavatam in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, he is telling, I heard Shukadeva Goswami with rapt attention. Nivishtaha. Nivishtaha means with rapt attention, being perfectly attentive. Perfectly attentive. And thus, by his mercy, Shukadeva Goswami's mercy, I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Learning primarily is by hearing. Srila Prabhupada explains, when a child just begins to grow up and start speaking, it will start asking so many questions. So the parents are very excited. Oh, my child has started speaking. They'll be waiting when the child will start talking. So when it starts talking, whenever it starts talking, then it will ask, what is this? Father will say, table. So the child simply hears that and it learns this is table. Now, somebody who's not hearing very attentively, or even if they are hearing with attention, they are putting a filter in their mind or in their intelligence. They hear with so many speculative ideas. It is not direct hearing, it is not attentive hearing, it is not perfect hearing. Then there is no learning. There is no learning. Learning is only when one perfectly hears attentively and accepts the knowledge without interpretation. If somebody interprets, then that is not the proper way of learning, at least a spiritual subject matter. If you have to learn spiritual subject matter, of course, you should approach the spiritual, bona fide spiritual master in parampara, and he simply repeats what he has heard from his guru. Simply repeats means not that he has not understood, he has understood, he has realized, but he does not change the message, he does not interpret the message, he does not give his own explanation. No. Otherwise, everything is spoiled. If while hearing there is some speculation or interpretation, the message is distorted. Prabhupada gives a very simple example. Formerly, this used to be the system that you send a message through what is called as telegram or telex. These are all old systems of communication when there was no mobile phone, there was no email, no internet. So in the telegram, you go to the telegraph office and you write the message. Now, the telegraph department will receive and you give the address of the person to whom this has to be sent. And telegram means it's something very urgent and immediate. So, I think all of you have never done it. I've done it hundreds of times. I'm from that generation. That's why I'm explaining. It's got a very relevant message here in understanding this. So that telegraph office, they receive that message in a written form in one telegram sheet, telegraph sheet. And there the address is given, the name of the person to whom I am sending the address, and also the message. Now that message, depending on the address, to the nearest telegraph office of that address, from the place where I am sending, the telegraph department will send this, will transmit this message. And for transmitting those days, for technical people, something called Morse code. You heard of it? Morse code. So instantaneously, whatever they key in using Morse code to that telegraph office, it could be anywhere. It could be even international also. Those days even international telegrams were there. So that message, and it will be a short message generally because it's very expensive and it is meant for some very urgent communication. So that every single word or every single letter of the message in the form of word and words in the form of a sentence, exactly it is transmitted. And there at the other end, simply there will be one sheet of paper that will be going on printing. Okay? Going on printing. As they are transmitting, it is receiving, decoding, there they are encoding and sending. So here is decoding and printing. So if there they are typing, father passed away, supposing some joint family, only one of the sons is in America. So they send, please come immediately. Father passed away. So, father passed away. 3 words, that's all. Costs a lot of money. So they'll just send this. And from there will be one standard, bhaiya. Because they also communicate the address from which it is sent and the address to which it is to be sent. That also very, very short. But the address should be properly given. So that message is transmitted as it is. Exactly whatever the from address, to address, the words, the actual message, from whom, everything as it is. So Prabhupada explains, the telegraph department has no business interpreting that message. Not that the message has been received, maybe he'll not understand at the other end. Maybe I should explain. No business, you have no business to explain or interpret or anything. As it is, the message has to go. It is for this person who's sending and the person who's receiving. So at the end, that printer keeps printing, telegraph machine, they keep just tearing it on strip after strip after strip. It keeps coming continuously from wherever else it is also sent. It is coming. So it is torn, and they see what is the address, and they will immediately send one boy. Deliver immediately. So that person, middle of the night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever time, this telegraph department works 24 hours, in shifts of course. Immediately, it's for emergency. Immediately messages to be transmitted. Prabhupada's time also, Prabhupada would send telegram. Some payment was authorized, and Prabhupada learned later on through the phone that they got cheated in some contractor in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada says, withhold payment. He was sending Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who was the GBC then in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada is somewhere in Bombay or somewhere, Surat or something. Okay. He's sending this telegram, withhold payment. Immediately it has to go. So I think in Bombay, Giriraj Maharaj, that time was Giriraj Prabhu, he went to the telegraph office and he's giving that message. It is, all the details are given. So in Vrindavan, say Mathura, it is received. Vrindavan may not have had that time a telegraph office. So Mathura telegraph office, it is getting printed. Tear it, paste it on one envelope, and then that from address, circle that, not from address, to address, and send one boy. He'll come on cycle, he'll come sometimes in a van. If it is very far, they'll send by a van. Nearby, they'll send by a cycle, like that. So he'll come, he will ring the bell at night, midnight. So somebody is ringing the bell, some urgent message. People know it is some urgent message. So what is that? Telegram. What happened? Father passed away. Immediately, we have to now leave. We have to go. So like that, immediate action is required. So that message transmission, accurately as it is. Prabhupada says, the spiritual master is like the post peon. He has received the message from his guru in parampara. He is supposed to deliver that message without any change, as it is. But because this is spiritual subject matter and he has realized it, so that realization is described here. Soham vaha shravayishyami. Now, he has learnt, by rapt attention he has heard and learnt, by the mercy of Shukadeva Goswami. Sutta Goswami learnt. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing. The same thing I am going to make you hear. He is not going to interpret, he is not going to change the message. But he further says, as I learnt it from him, exactly as I learnt it, I am going to make you hear. And as I have realized it, why this realization is coming is to explain. But that explanation doesn't change the message. It communicates the message accurately also in the same spirit in which it was explained by the Guru in Parampara, by the previous Acharyas. So that spirit is preserved and the message accurately preserved. So how is the message preserved? The original text. And how is the spirit preserved? The spiritual master trains the disciple not only in hearing very attentively and receiving the message perfectly, but also in applying the actual instruction and doing devotional service, and thereby realizing. Just like in medical college, they teach the theory so that the student has to learn by properly hearing or properly learning. Okay. But then the practical application in surgery, for example, that actually he'll perform surgery, the professor. He'll not only speak, he'll also perform surgery, and the student will first observe, and he'll ask so many questions, and then he will learn. Then in the presence of the professor, he'll do one surgery. Is it not? So something like this happens even in the spiritual life. The realization also is important. Unless it is realized, parrot-like repetition and parrot-like recitation is not going to work. Now, in India, there are some scholars. Of course, we should give them credit that they are able to recite the Vedas accurately. And there is a certain way of even chanting itself to preserve the original text. Formerly, there was no written book. So how would they preserve? The disciple hears from the Guru and he repeats. Guru will correct if he makes a mistake. But somehow in transmission, if there is some mistake which either the disciple has learnt it properly or somehow he has not learnt it properly, or later on he becomes little unclear about what the text was. Then in transmission, just like in electronic transmission, they have this parity check. You have learned this in communication, you have this parity check. You have learned this? No. Achha. Those who have learned communication, decoded messages or encoded messages, when it is received at the other end, in the en route there is some, some noise. Then the message gets corrupted. But how will they know at the other end what we are receiving is corrupted message or accurate message? So, if they are sending, let us say, 18 bits of some message, for every 8 bits, there will be a parity bit. Okay? That parity bit will say, let's say the sum of the bits, 8 bits, the 9th bit will be indicating the sum of the 8 bits. That will also be a standard. Some of the 8 bits will be like 3 bits. The sum is 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, like that. So that 8 bits ka message and 3 bits parity. Again 8 bits message, 3 bits parity. They keep on transmitting. So anywhere anything happens, then they know, and at the end of that entire message, total number of message bits, total number of parity bits. That is also said, this is the end of the message. So the whole thing is encoded carefully with this parity. So when that is received, either the 8 bits, the sum doesn't tally, or even if that tallies, the number of these 8 bits message and the number of these parity bits doesn't tally anywhere, message corrupted. So immediately they send this thing, received okay or not received, resend. This keeps happening. Of course, later on it was automated, but initially it was manual. It was done manually. And just like the teacher is speaking, the student is hearing and repeating. If while he is repeating he makes a mistake, teacher will immediately correct the student. Correct the student. So, not only that, this parity check is there in the original Vedas in the form of Padapatha, then Kramapatha, then Pada, Krama, Jatapatha, Ghanapatha. This is nothing but parity. Where is the idea of parity coming from for exact, accurate transmission? It is coming from the original Vedas. And this is mentioned in the Bhagavatam by Suta Goswami in the last chapter of the 12th canto. 12th canto is the last canto. Last chapter is 13th chapter. And that describes the glories of the Bhagavatam. In that, Suta Goswami glorifies Krishna by telling one verse, which is there in the Gita Mahatmya. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutas Tunvanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sanga Padakramopanishadai. Veda Saanga Padakrama Upanishadaihi. In all the Vedic literature, including the original Vedas, which contains this Padakrama, and the philosophical essence of the Vedas, which is Upanishads, and the Vedangas, as well as the Upavedas, all these are simply glorifying Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. This is what Suta Goswami is declaring the glory of the Bhagavatam. So there he makes a reference to this Padakrama. So I was curious, what is this Padakrama? So then, before joining ISKCON, before coming in contact with ISKCON, I was learning this original Veda from one teacher. And he was teaching this recitation, accurate recitation. And when he teaches a mantra, let's say Gayatri mantra, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Accurately, I have to chant that, every word, every syllable. Now, when that is taught, the mantra is taught, okay, then the mantra has to be repeated several times accurately. After that, to preserve the accuracy of the mantra, it doesn't get corrupted anywhere down the line, they also teach this mantra's padapatha. That means in this mantra, how many words are there? Om, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha. See, when Prabhupada was giving the Gayatri mantra, he was actually repeating padapatha. And then he would repeat the entire mantra. So this is the Vedic system. So every word separately, they will make them recite. The entire mantra, like when we learn the verses, the same padapatha only. First, the words. And Prabhupada is going to padapatha separately in the word-for meaning. So first the words. The combination of the words makes up one line. And then 4 lines make up the entire shloka. So first we say, Tatra Kirtayato Vipra. Then Tatra Kirtayato Vipra. Then the second line, Viprarsher, Bhuri, Tejasaha. Then the entire shloka. So this padapata is just one check. If something is missed, then we come to know from the padapata and the original and the entire shloka, something is not matching, it is some mistake is there. Either in the padapata some mistake is there, or the original shloka itself recitation some mistake is there. Further, this pada, krama. Krama, there is a pattern of arranging these words in a 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, then 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, something like some standard, one standard sequencing is done. And you have to repeat like that. So, if the original message is Om Bhur Swaha, Om Bhuhu, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Bhuvaha, Swaha, Swaha, then Bhuhu, like that. It will come in that pattern. All the mantras, the same pattern, they have to repeat the words, separate words. That they have to learn as Kramapatha. And they have to keep on repeating that. They have to learn that. Formally, there is no book. So they just recite, here, recite, get it committed to memory, and then that is complete. So, pada, krama. If krama is over, then they come to jata. Jata means intertwined. The words are intertwined. So, this krama is some sequence of the words, some different sequence with repetition. Jata is intertwined. The first line, first word, second line, second word, third line, third word, something like that. I don't know the details, but something like that. They have a intertwined, formation of the words of the shloka, of that mantra. Then that they learn. They keep on repeating. And then finally, Ghanapata, it is the most complicated formation. It will contain the words, it will contain the krama, it will contain the ghana. Because anywhere the mistake happens, how do you correct the mistake? This not only, it will tell there is a mistake by studying all these, they will also be able to correct the thing. So in that Ghanapata, there will be what is there in the Padapata, what is there in the Kramapata, what is there in the Jatapata. All these will be encoded in the Ghanapata. Basic shloka, there is code. The code itself is further encoded. That encoded is further encoded. So 4 stages of encoding. Pada, Krama, Ghana, Jata, Ghana. And then by this what happens? Perfectly the message is communicated. Anywhere any mistake happens, they can catch it. So this way, the original is preserved. Now in our system, it is not just the original Vedas or original text is important. For us, more than the text, in fact, or text and the realization is important. The realization is important. Especially the Puranas and Itihasas, the realization is important. Because in the original Vedas, the Brahmana learns, and while doing the yajna, he pours the ingredients and keeps on chanting the mantras. Simply by chanting the mantra accurately, the benefit is received. The benefit is received simply by chanting the mantra accurately. So he has to learn the mantra and chant it accurately and pour the ghee into the fire. Or while doing worship, deity worship also. The exact mantra he says and he offers to the Supreme Lord, whatever offering, flower or incense or whatever. But in Puranas and Itihasas, it is not enough to just say the words, the meaning. See, Prabhupada gives word for meaning, then he gives translation. Then translation he explains in the purport. So this word for meaning, translation, purport is a little different than the original Vedas. Original Vedas, the mantra for this particular purpose, this is the mantra, for this offering, this is the mantra, for this yajna, this is the mantra. Just chants the mantra accurately, and then the benefit is there. The purpose is served. Merely chanting accurately, that's all. Here, accurately the verse has to be transmitted and learnt and recited, yeah. But also the specific meaning of the word in the context. In the context. And then the whole verse, the translation. Even though the word for meaning is there, in the translation, but it is actually arranged in the correct order in which it makes sense. Then the translation communicates more than just the word for meaning. And the purport explains the entire verse. So this is the realization part. This realization he is telling, as I have heard and as I have realized it, I shall actually make you hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, why this realization important, I'll conclude with this point, is that now when the sages of Naimisharanya are sitting and hearing, they are hearing with very rapt attention. But after he narrates the Bhagavatam, whatever questions Parikshit asked, that is also there in the Bhagavatam. He also heard that, Suta Goswami, correct? Now, whatever answers Shukadeva Goswami gave, also he heard and he is repeating, reciting, okay. Now, if the sages of Naimisharanya, they have some question, either about Parikshit's question or about Shukadeva Goswami's answer, then how will Suta Goswami answer that? Unless he has realized. So that's why realization is important. Like Prabhupada, he is giving the Bhagavatam class. At the end of the class, he is asking any questions. So somebody will ask some question. How will Prabhupada answer that? Based on his realization. Based on his realization. So therefore, it is said, one should not hear from a person who is interpreting the message, there is no value for that. It's useless. Because the message itself is completely distorted. And even if somebody is accurately repeating the verses, parrot-like repetition does not communicate the spirit in which it has to be understood and applied. So therefore, every acharya, not only he actually gives the actual verse, but he also tells the previous acharyas how they have explained. And to explain the previous acharya's explanation, first of all, they'll quote the previous acharya. Because that explanation which the acharya has given should be accurately communicated. So they quote. Now, even after quoting, I don't understand. I'm a disciple. My guru is giving me the verse, giving me the explanation of the previous acharya, like it happens in Bhagavatam. Now, Prabhupada is giving, Shukadeva Goswami is citing what he learned from Vyasadeva. But Shukadeva Goswami is also referring to Parikshit's question, to answer Parikshit's question. He is referring to the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. The question you have asked, he is telling Parikshit Maharaj, Vidura also asked the same question to Maitreya. And what did Maitreya reply? He is telling Maitreya replied like this. He is quoting Maitreya. Both Vidura's question, Maitreya's answer. So, Vidura Uvacha, Maitreya Uvacha, it's coming accurately. But then Parikshit will ask some question about Vidura's question or Maitreya's reply. That Shukadeva Goswami, Shuka Uvacha, Rajo Uvacha, that will also come. The same way, Shukadeva Goswami is citing previous authorities, but he is also answering Parikshit's questions. Now here, Suta Goswami, he is citing what Shukadeva Goswami replied to Parikshit. He is also citing what originally the Supreme Lord spoke to Brahma, what Brahma taught to Narada, what Narada taught to Vyasa, what Vyasa taught to Shukadeva Goswami, what Shukadeva Goswami taught to Parikshit. Everything Suta Goswami is giving in this. But Suta Goswami is also explaining, like here, he is explaining, I shall make you hear the same, very same thing as I learned it, and also as I have realized it. So the explanation Suta Goswami will give for the questions asked by the sage of Naimisharanya will be his realization. Because that is where the spirit of understanding, the spirit of the message, the spirit of the Bhagavatam will be communicated. Otherwise, it's like parrot-like repetition. Without that spirit, it is parrot-like repetition. So, if somebody is not realized, then what should he do? Prabhupada has told us. Now, in ISKCON, or generally in any institution at least, it happens that when the spiritual master speaks, he can explain also. He can explain by his realization. But if somebody else is speaking, they are not realized, then how can they actually give class if somebody asks a question? So Prabhupada says, even while answering questions, those who are not realized souls, they should repeat the words of the spiritual master. So how do we repeat the words of the spiritual master when somebody asks us a question? we will cite from Prabhupada's books the answer for that question. You see how it is preserved? Prabhupada's message, Prabhupada's explanation is preserved in ISKCON. No interpretation. So if I give a class, I tell this many times. When you hear, if you got some doubt, you seek clarification from me. Now when I'm answering or clarifying your doubt, I can't give my explanation to that doubt itself or to the question you ask. No. I have to answer your question from Prabhupada's books. And if I do not know what Prabhupada has said, I will say, I don't know what Prabhupada has said. I have to read, I have to refer, and then get back to you. Because I am not realized. Whereas a realized soul will explain. Even if it is not, same question was not asked by somebody else and the previous Acharya had replied. Even then, he will reply. So, therefore, when Acharya is speaking, it has to be taken 100% as it is. When somebody else who's trying to communicate the same message as what the Acharya is giving, like Prabhupada is the Acharya for all of us. So when I repeat, when I give class, I repeat Prabhupada's words. But merely repeating, that's all here. So in class, I'll also say the same thing. No, I have to explain. But my explanation is what Prabhupada has explained. So if I'm explaining something more than what is here, it is from somewhere else Prabhupada has explained the same thing. So if you ask me some question and I give you an answer, you can verify whether my answer is correct by going back to Prabhupada's books. Where in Prabhupada's books this has been said? So I tell devotees that whatever I speak has to be from Prabhupada's books. Otherwise I am not doing justice to giving the class as Prabhupada has explained. And in case you have a doubt whether that's the same explanation Prabhupada has given, let's say you search, you don't get, then you come and ask me, where is it in Prabhupada's book what you told today? Where is it in Prabhupada's book? That preserves the accuracy of the whole message Prabhupada is giving, parampara system. One time Prabhupada said, when devotee asked a question, he said, I'm simply giving you the knowledge, whatever I have received from my spiritual master, I don't know anything else. Of course, Prabhupada knows, but to communicate this point that he is not adding, he is not interpreting, he is not giving his own explanation. That's why Bhagavad Gita, what did it give the title of the book? Bhagavad Gita as it is. What is this as it is? As it is received in the parampara system, same thing is explaining. So that's why this is very important. I'll make you hear the very same thing as I learnt it and as I have realized it. Acharyas can say this, as I have realized it. Also, I will make you hear. But those who are not in the position of Acharya, this as I have realized it, no value. There's no value for that. If somebody is not a self-realized soul, there's no meaning to my realization. So therefore, those who are not realized souls, they can also give class, but they should speak from whatever Prabhupada has explained. Finished, over. I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.